Over the past 2 centuries, if one were to ask who the most powerful person in the world was, most would name the American presidents of their times. With military strength and economic dominance, American presidents have shaped world history. But among them, only a select few have truly transformed the world for the better. One such leader, a man who changed the course of history forever, was Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin in Kentucky. His family was poor. His father, Thomas Lincoln, worked as a carpenter, and his mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, passed away when he was just 9 years old. Growing up in poverty, Lincoln had little formal education, yet his thirst for knowledge was unquenchable. He was largely self-taught, reading whatever books he could find by the dim light of a candle. At the age of 15, an experience changed his life forever. While visiting New Orleans, he witnessed the horrifying reality of slavery. Black men and women being sold like cattle, whipped and chained. It was in that moment that young Lincoln made a promise to himself: "One day, I will put an end to this cruelty." Life wasn't easy for Lincoln. At 22, he worked as a store clerk. Later, he borrowed money to start his own business, but it failed, leaving him in debt for years. Undeterred, he taught himself law and became a lawyer. By 1834, at the age of 25, he entered politics, winning a seat in the Illinois state legislature. In 1833, Lincoln fell in love with Anne Rutledge, but tragedy struck when she passed away just 2 years later. He was devastated, but eventually found love again, marrying Mary Todd Lincoln in 1842. For 8 years, Lincoln served in the Illinois legislature before stepping away from politics. But in 1854, he was drawn back by a cause greater than himself: the fight against slavery. In 1859, when a friend suggested that he run for president, Lincoln humbly replied, "I am not qualified for such an office." But destiny had other plans. In 1860, he was elected as the 16th President of the United States. From the moment he took office, Lincoln knew he had to fulfill the promise he had made as a teenager to abolish slavery. But his decision would divide the nation. By 1861, the country was torn apart. The southern states, whose economies depended on slavery, opposed Lincoln's stance and seceded from the Union, leading to the outbreak of the American Civil War. But Lincoln stood firm. On September 22, 1862, he issued the Emancipation Proclamation, declaring that from January 1, 1863, all enslaved people in Confederate states would be freed. This was a turning point in history. For 4 long years, the Civil War raged on, but Lincoln's leadership never wavered. In January 1865, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the 13th Amendment, officially abolishing slavery with a 2/3 majority. Lincoln's vision had triumphed. In November 1864, Lincoln was re-elected for a second term. He hoped to heal a fractured nation and build a future of equality and unity. But fate had other plans. On the evening of April 14, 1865, Good Friday, Lincoln attended a play, Our American Cousin, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. As he sat watching the performance, John Wilkes Booth, a well-known actor and Confederate sympathizer, shot him in the head. Lincoln passed away the next morning on April 15, 1865. He was 56 years old. His death shook the world, but his legacy lived on. He had ended slavery, preserved the Union, and forever changed the course of history. Abraham Lincoln's journey was one of struggle, resilience, and unwavering commitment to justice. If he had chosen to stay silent, history would have forgotten his name, and millions of people would have remained in chains. Today, if America stands as a land of liberty, it is because Abraham Lincoln laid its foundation. And what about us? We too have the power to change the world. All it takes is a strong vision and the courage to act. If we have these two things, we can also become immortal inspiration for the generations to come, just as Abraham Lincoln. Government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The best way to predict the future is to create it.